¿Quieres las preguntas en inglés o en español? Como te sientas más cómodo.
Hacémoslo en español, lo que te conviene. Se me sale un poquito mal, pero
No.
perdón.
The time will come, Diana. And everything will be different.
Hi, Gal. How are you?
Hi, Greta. How are you?
I'm fine. Thank you very much. I'm really excited to have a chance to talk with you about this movie. So,
Thank you.
some of the superhero movies try to give a lesson to the audience through the main character. But what I love the most about Wonder Woman and this movie is the fact that she's not trying to educate or give a lesson about how greed is bad, but she's a real inspiration. And that, I think, it's beautiful and amazing. But what do you think about that part, that she's an inspiration? She's not like a teacher.
Yeah, she's not a preacher or a teacher or anything. She wants to help mankind be better, but she understands that it's up to them. So all she can do is try to guide them, or try to set an example and lead by example. But she understands that essentially it's up to them. Only they can save the world.
Yeah, it's a great message. The first question about Steve Trevor is, how is he in Wonder Woman 1984? Or how is he alive? And it's great the way the film brings back this character. But I would like to know, what do you think about the fact that Steve gave his life in the first film in order to save the world? And while he was dead, many things happened, like the World War II and the Vietnam War, and now he's back in 1984, and the humanity is in problems again with the Cold War. So how do you think Steve feels about that?
You know what's funny? So Steve was very jaded in the first movie, and it was the journey with her that made him realize it was worth fighting for mankind, and that's why he sacrificed himself. But the truth was, the end of the movie, the message is that mankind is a long way from being better, and still they're worth our love, you know? And that continues to this day. I don't think that he would be surprised. I think he would be bummed, you know? But I also think that when he came to this time of peace, he's not really seeing and focusing on all of those terrible things. I think you do start to get tired of the fact that people aren't getting better enough, for sure.
I think he's probably, it doesn't surprise him that the world has become just as crazy and awful as he left it. But he, I think, more than anything in this film, is so in love with the love of his life, Diana, that he doesn't have time to worry about the larger questions of the world. He wants to help Diana help the world.
I can't say much about Steve Trevor because I don't want to ruin the experience and give any spoilers away. I can talk about Kristen, say how lovely it was to have him back on set. He was such a key element to why the first movie was such a big success, and I could never imagine doing the next Wonder Woman that we just shot without him. And I'm very, very grateful that Patty Jenkins and Jeff Jones and Dave Callahan had figured out a way on not just how to bring him back, because we like to work with Chris, but how to bring Steve back and make his comeback super relevant to Diana's arc.
You look like you saw a ghost.
Barbara is a character that we can feel related to, and we can understand where she's coming from, because like her, maybe I don't like a lot of things about myself. And sometimes we compare our lives with the lives of people that we admire. So I think she's one of the most human villains to date, and I think that's great. And one day you are like Barbara, and then you are like Cheetah. So have you ever feel like Barbara and then you feel like Cheetah in real life?
Oh God, I mean, I probably feel like Barbara, like you were saying, more than Cheetah. Yeah, she's human. We all feel these insecurities and, questioning ourselves and not feeling like a part of a bigger thing. And I think that's just out there for her. And it's refreshing. And I do think that the audience they feel sorry for her, but they secretly understand and relate to all of those feelings. And so I think that also makes a really interesting conflict to how you're feeling about her later. And Diana definitely feels that too. So I think that's a kind of interesting way to see this villain.
I don't want to be like anyone. I want to be an apex predator.
Actualmente vivimos con muchísima presión social, tenemos esta necesidad de llegar a ser alguien, de tener muchísimas cosas, y es algo que sucede, y para mí Maxwell Lord es como la representación de eso. Entonces yo no lo siento como un villano, mi relación con él es un poquito complicada porque él es muy carismático, es un hombre de negocios, es un señor de Wall Street. Entonces me gustaría saber qué piensas de que es un personaje que es un villano, pero es más humano que un villano.
Tengo que decir que realmente eso es algo que gracias a Patty Jenkins, que existe en una manera mucho más entera, y todo lo que dices, que es algo humano realmente que le motiva, y es algo que todos podemos identificar, lo que le motiva a esta persona, y que todas las intenciones de un parte de él que es mucho más vulnerable, que se espera. Y bueno, era la única manera de hacerlo, y también para mí la única manera de conectarme para interpretarlo y crearlo. Yo pensaba que bueno, vamos a hacer Gordon Gekko de Wall Street, vamos a ser como un douchebag de los 80 y exagerarlo totalmente, pero todo lo que se exageraba era algo mucho más de lo que tenemos todos en nuestros corazones.
I'm here to change your life.
The first movie, among other things, is about how Diana became Wonder Woman. And in this film, it's very interesting how she is a very lonely character and she doesn't have any close relationships because she has to abandon that relationships. But at the same time, she deals with the possibility of having a normal life with Steve. And that's really emotional, and at the same time, it's devastating. She's always so hard on herself. So what do you think about that part of Diana?
It's not easy to be Diana. It's not easy to be Diana. In the first movie, she had her team members, her friends, her secret, the people she could share everything with. And along the years, they all died, and she's immortal. So she experienced the loss of all of them, and she decided that she doesn't want to experience a similar loss again, and she doesn't want people to be on her and to realize that she doesn't age, and so she just decides to keep it low and to have a low profile, and just to be there and do the only calling that she has, which is to try and better the world. But she is very, very lonely when we meet her in this movie.
Why did you decide to set the film in the 80s and not in the modern days, or maybe in the Vietnam War or something like that? Why did you decide to set the film in the 80s?
I wanted this film not to be about war. I wanted it to be very different. The last one was about war enough. I wanted it to be about a new kind of evil, and the evil of our times, commercialism and capitalism and greed and all of these things. That was like a great thing to send. What would Wonder Woman think of that? What would Wonder Woman do in that? And would Wonder Woman herself be tempted, like we all are, to try to have better, and more. And so I loved that idea. And the 80s made it, first of all, it's a time I find synonymous with Wonder Woman's fame. And so I just loved seeing her there. But it also makes you able to talk about modern day without having to be literal.
In an interview last year, you said that Steve Trevor redefines the idea of a hero's journey. And I agree with that. And I really appreciate the presence of your character in this movie because once again, it has a very positive impact in Diana and Wonder Woman and changed the whole story. But can you tell the difference between Steve Trevor from the first movie and this one as a hero and this journey?
Yeah, you know, in the first film, Steve teaches Diana a lot. She teaches him a lot, but there's like a mutual exchange of, you know, he has to teach her about the world, a world that can be really harsh and awful. And she has to teach him about the beauty of love and opening your heart again. And in this film, you know, it's not, I'm there almost as a teacher. I don't have any other function really other than to be present for the woman I love. And because of my presence, she matures and learns something new about herself. So it's an odd journey to play because there is no real, I guess, formulaic A to Z arc. It's more of, it's as if she's talking to that part of herself that is Steve.
It's interesting. And when she's empowered, she some kind of enjoys the fact that she cannot be intimidated by men. And that's very important. The way the movie depicts the harassment against Diana and Barbara, I think it's a very important part of this film, and it helps to understand the character development. So what did you think about that part of the film?
I love that her first sort of, you know, big confrontation is with someone that has harassed her in the past. I think it's, you know, she has a breaking point, and before she always reacted with fear, and now she reacts with strength. And I think that's her biggest turning point. And it's what she does with that strength that, you know, obviously gets a little out of control later. But yeah, I love that it wasn't just a random, you know, thing that happened. It was something really personal to her.
I loved doing that whole line. What you want to do with these kinds of characters is, if you're watching someone turn into a villain, if it's just bad intentions right away, you're not really understanding and relating with them. What the challenge was for both her and Max Lord for me was for you to understand why they're doing what they're doing for many, many steps. So that was why I liked her. Her being attacked makes you feel good about it when she first starts attacking that guy. But then she goes too far, and the greatest thing is that's the moment she turns. And I loved walking that delightful line of, I would see people watching that scene in the beginning, and then you know, and then her turning on the homeless man that she used to have a relationship with. I just loved seeing that little build into like, oh, okay, where are we headed, you know?
Para mí, de verdad, es un gran personaje y obtiene este poder de la Dreamstone y puede hacer los deseos realidad de todos. Pero me gustaría saber, ¿tú qué piensas? ¿Qué sucedería si la gente, en lugar de ser egoísta y pedir algo muy personal, pidieran algo por el bien de la humanidad? ¿Cómo crees que habría sucedido la historia en Wonder Woman?
Yo sé que me ha manejado la vida mis deseos y ahora me encuentro en donde estoy, que es muy surreal, pero al fondo, idealmente lo que me gustaría es que yo creo que lo que maneja todo es la plata y el sufrimiento que tiene tantas caras por el mundo, es la pobreza. Y me encantaría quitar eso del mundo y vivir en una nueva, aunque sea totalmente, no es como world peace, pero que eliminar poverty.
What are your thoughts about a third film, a Wonder Woman trilogy? What do you think about that possibility?
Oh, I think there absolutely should be. I think she's a phenomenal character and she could go on and be around for forever and ever. So I hope they do make a third. And I love Gal, and she's so good in this and so phenomenal as the character. I can't wait to watch a third.
It's a great character and this is a great movie. So thank you very much for both. And thank you, Gal, for this interview.
Thank you. Gracias. Adiós.
Gracias.
Fly.